TWSN. You ain't heard about us yet, well you better know now, because it's the place that it all goes down.
Welcome back to another edition of the TWSN Tailgate Show. As always, I am your host, Matt Levine, and I'm joined by my two co-hosts. We got Josh Northcutt and our semi-regular, pretty much permanent at this point, co-host Bill Sparks. How you guys doing? We just got the rankings for the new week. How you guys feeling about everything right now? Bill, I'll let you go first.
Yeah, the rankings weren't that surprising. There is one surprise that, depending on which side of the fence you're sitting on, you're probably either a little shocked or you're not shocked at all. And I know we'll get into it, but SEC fans should really be shaking in their boots right now. But Josh, how are you feeling after last week's games?
I'm feeling a little out of place. I gotta fix something for myself real fast. But now that I'm feeling good about this week, gentlemen,
No.
They're up to 15.
No.
They're up to the magic number. They've still got a chance. They're still alive.
Just for the audience to know. In the first quarter of that game against Maryland, Josh texted Bill and I and said, Maryland's going to win. I just want to throw that out to everybody, that Josh had no confidence in this team, but now he's all confident.
Yeah, I don't. They didn't have their best running back, but he's coming back this week. So, and then the other one hopefully is coming back as well. But, we'll talk about that a little bit later on.
We'll talk about the game in a little bit. But we have a lot to go over. But before we do anything, there's something we have to address here. Bill, you want to help me out a little bit?
Yeah.
We have been standing. I see something different. So there's a new leader. Do you see this?
I do. I see that there's no longer a tie between you and Josh.
No, there isn't. And that is because every viewer, all of our viewers, everybody, Josh has officially blown the 11-game lead that he held over me for the entire season. And if anyone, we thank everybody who's tuned in all year. I said when I went down, I am going to come back and I'm going to take the lead over you, and I'm not going to give it up. Josh said, no, there's no way that's going to happen. But guess what? We have 1 week left and I'm up. Josh, what do you have to say for yourself? What do you want to say to the people? You are on par with the Atlanta Falcons losing to the New England Patriots, Josh. Do you understand what this means? Sorry to the Falcons fans, but do you understand?
I do. It was an embarrassing blown loss. I just want to see if you actually are, an honorable man and will make picks first. Because I had to make picks first when I was in the league.
I'm definitely going to be honorable, but we're going to do the same thing we've done all year long.
Or are you a coward and you will go ahead and let me make my picks and just follow the leader so I can't try to pass you on this last show? That's all I want to know.
I am an honorable man because I have been – unlike you, up until like 2 weeks ago, my picks were readily available for all of us to see before the show.
That's fair.
So, and look, I have never once intentionally picked something that I don't think, because that's going to affect my overall record. And I don't care if I beat you by 1, 3, it doesn't matter. I'm going to have a better record than you at the end of this. I told you this weeks ago, and here we are, Josh. Here we are. You can put your Michigan hat on. I don't care. I really don't care. But at the end of the day, I have the lead. I promise you I'm not giving it up. So without further ado, we have to get into some of these other things, because no one really cares about the beef that me and Josh have, except for maybe me, Josh, and Bill to some degree. Maybe a few of our viewers. But before we get into everything, we want to thank everyone for tuning in. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel, like this video. It really does mean a lot. We are here every week. So we want to give the best content possible. We can't do that without the audience. We love the audience. So thank you guys for tuning in. But we got to get into this, guys. We got to get into this. But first, Bill, I'm giving you the floor, because as we do every week, it's Bill's fraud of the week. And we don't know what these are. Okay, to be fair, in all disclosure, we found out like 10 minutes before. We normally don't do that, but I asked Bill. He actually told me this time. Bill, who are your frauds of the week heading into this final week of the regular season?
Yeah, so this first fraud is going to be a little bit of a different twist. This fraud already played as we speak, and this fraud sealed their 6th winless season in program history, and all of the 5 previous seasons were 8 games or fewer. In fact, this fraud of the week went 0-12 in conference. This fraud of the week started their season off losing 42-10 to Temple. lost to an FCS program 27-26, and 10 of their 12 losses were by double digits. 8 of those losses were by 20 points. The average margin to defeat is 27.2 points per game. This first fraud of the week is UMass, because they sealed an 0-12 season, which for that is the last time that happened was last year with Kent State. Before that, 2019 with Akron, 2017 with UTEP. It's bad. And normally you can kind of justify a team being bad if they look good in some games. When you lose to an FCS program, when Missouri waxes you, when Central Michigan wipes you off the planet, and when Bowling Green, who had a losing record, wipes the floor with you 45-14, I am sorry, but you're not just a fraud. You don't even belong in the stratosphere of frauds. So UMass fans,
Wow.
I apologize. You are the first fraud of the week. But I come bearing gifts. It is the season of giving thanks. I'm doubling up on frauds this week. We're going 2 for 2. My second fraud of the week is a guy who has been in the news here recently, and not for the right reasons. In fact, his team actually just fell in the rankings, and the reason for the fall was that the other team that jumped him had a really good win, when in all actuality, the reason for the fall, the committee just didn't want to say it, is that he's planning to jump ship. My fraud this week is Lane Kiffin for the entire Ole Miss situation that's gone on, because we just watched Eric Morris, who is the head coach at North Texas, accept a job at Oklahoma State and do so with class, to the point where Oklahoma State said, hey, you can still coach North Texas through the playoffs. You can still coach them as deep as they go. No issues whatsoever. Yet Lane Kiffin seems to want the world to revolve around Lane, and has said, let's wait until the day after the Egg Bowl, and then I'm going to announce my results like he's LeBron James and it's the decision circa 2010. Lane, I love your play calling, but at this point, it's gotten too far of a point. You are this week's fraud of the week, because I hate to say this, but if he leaves Ole Miss, there is a strong likelihood that they could find themselves on the outside looking in.
Man, Bill coming with some fire, but that leads us directly into what we need to talk about here. So thank you, Bill.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of Mr. Lane Kiffin, we don't have much new information from what we had last week, which is a little shocking. But maybe it's not shocking, because the way Lane Kiffin likes to handle things is on Lane Kiffin's terms. For anybody who has not followed any of this, the Ole Miss Rebels are one of the best teams in the country, led by Lane Kiffin. About a week and a half ago, he apparently started being recruited by a few teams, namely the LSU Tigers and the Florida Gators. There have been rumors for the last 4 or 5 days that Lane Kiffin is on the verge of leaving Ole Miss in the middle of a playoff hunt, as Bill discussed. And none of us really know what to make of this, because every day something changes. 1 minute he's going to LSU, 1 minute he's going to Florida, 1 minute he's staying in Ole Miss, 1 minute he doesn't know what he's doing. This is the Lane Kiffin show, as you mentioned, Bill. I want Josh. You haven't talked in a second, which is rare for you. What is your take on this whole Lane Kiffin business, regardless whether you think he should stay at Ole Miss, whether he should go somewhere else? What is your take on all of this? And at the end of it, what do you believe is going to happen?
Well, I believe he's good as gone. I feel like the AD's little letter to everybody kind of was already thanking Lane for his time, and they're going to move on. As you mentioned, it will be interesting to see how the whole circus turns out of Ole Miss. Are they going to get left out to dry? Is Lane Kiffin not going to be allowed to coach in the playoffs? Is it going to be one of those things where, like North Texas, he's told, hey, you can finish it out here? Does he even want to finish it out here? Is he just trying to be the honorable man, quote unquote, and the changed man and the image that he has tried to share while he's been at Ole Miss of what he's done differently? And he's not that USC guy, and he's definitely not that Oakland Raider coach, maybe. But when it all is said and done, the one thing I want to emphasize on this: never again should a player ever be called out for not having loyalty to a school when we have a head coach literally telling his kids that he's basically going to go somewhere else, but he wants to stay with the program for an extra week. If I'm Ole Miss, I would have said, there's the door, see your way out. We can win this thing without you. And I would have hired somebody from within to take that spot, or I would have maybe hired somebody who's very close to the program, because it's not like we haven't seen it before. I know it's a totally different world with the playoffs, but I want to say it was the Rose Bowl the one year. Wisconsin brought back their legendary coach, the coach in the Rose Bowl. We've watched Michigan State bring back Antonio because he's around the program. There is somebody in the Ole Miss world that could have helped take over this team. If you don't want to be here, we don't want you, especially if you're going to an SEC school. There's the door. See your way out. Don't let it hit you on the way.
Bill, I'm going to let you have the floor because I have thoughts on this whole entire thing. You know, maybe being an LSU fan, it might be different. But Bill, what do you think of this whole Lane Kiffin mess, whatever you want to call it? And again, do you think he stays or does he leave for a presumably better job at this point?
I think at this point he's as good as gone. I don't see a way where you can put out that letter like Josh talked about with the AD, thanking him for all the time, all the good memories in Oxford, and then say, oh, hey, by the way, just kidding, I'm coming back. I think he's as good as gone. I think it is a clear front runner that it is LSU. I don't see a way Florida gets back in this thing. The way LSU has kind of worked around the entire thing, they're willing to offer him the key to Baton Rouge. And when you look at the two jobs comparatively, you mean to tell me I can go to Baton Rouge and I don't have to compete with the Florida States and the Miamis. I only really have to compete with Tulane, and even then they're down in New Orleans, and it's not really a big school. I think Lane's as good as gone. I think the biggest concern that I have is the fact that it feels like a circus. And this is what Lane has done. You go back to his time with the Raiders and getting fired on the tarmac, the national championship in Alabama, the night before getting dismissed by Saban. You go to the time in Tennessee where he bounced out of Rocky Top. This is who Lane is. And whoever hires him, whether it's LSU, whether it's Florida, whether it's USC, whether it's Texas Tech, whether it's the Tennessee Titans, doesn't matter. Whoever gets Lane, you have to prepare yourself for 4 years from now. You're going to be in these shoes because this is just who he is. He's going to go to his new school or his new home. He's going to have a rough first year. Everybody's going to question, was this really the right decision? Have a great year 2 and a year 3. Then year 4, he's entertaining new jobs, and we're right back in the same thing. Time as a flat circle with Lane Kiffin. So whoever gets him, I say good luck to you.
Interesting. I mean, we talked about this last week. I am of the mindset that I don't believe and this is specific to the LSU job. I don't believe that is going to happen with him. I think if he comes to LSU, it's with the mindset, I'm going to be the LSU coach for 10 years plus, because there's not many other jobs that are bigger and better in college football. Now, you could say the NFL, right? But I don't think Lane fits the NFL. He wants to do things on his terms. NFL owners, and they don't care about that. They don't care what you want, basically. With college, you have a little more leeway, and he has found a way to kind of make things work in this new era of college football, which is kind of NFL-like-ish with all the payment going through. I think Lane stays in college. I don't think he goes to the NFL. We saw that. It flamed out. It didn't work. And a lot of times, he's found success at the college level. So if you had asked me 2 days ago, I would have said, yeah, it's for sure. I think he's coming to LSU, everything. I'm not so sure anymore. I think this might be a whole publicity stunt. And it's unfortunate if it is, I honestly might rather him leave at this point than come back, because if it does come out that he is going to stay at LSU, or not LSU, at Ole Miss, why put the school through this? Why put the fans through this? Why put the players through this? Unless he specifically had a meeting with the players and said, hey, I'm not leaving. We're doing this charade. But I don't know how that would be so tight-lipped that it wouldn't get out, right? Did you guys see his press conference the other day?
Mm-hmm.
That was uncomfortable. Like, he was visibly shaken. I have not seen Lane Kiffin like that in a long time. So, again, 2 days ago, I might have said, yeah, I think he might be leaving. the longer this goes where something hasn't leaked, I don't know, it's starting to seem like a charade to me. And I think he might have been playing LSU, might have been playing Florida to get a higher pay from Ole Miss. Now, does that mean that in next year or two to come, he's not going to do this again? No, because that's just who Lane Kiffin is. And Ole Miss is not the best program. Look, they are a very talented school. They're having a historic season. But can he realistically win a national championship consistently year to year at Ole Miss? No. Okay. This is the best team he has ever had. And I don't even think this team can win a national championship.
Yeah.
But you go to LSU, you turn things around right there. You're in the title mix every year, literally, with the transfer portal, with the recruiting in the state, as you mentioned. So I don't know what's going to happen. I really don't. The whole thing is weird to me because why are we waiting till Friday? Just announce that you're leaving. And I get the whole sentiment of like, oh, he probably wants to coach the game, probably wants to coach the playoffs. But there is no way in hell that LSU, Florida, whoever, especially those two, are going to allow this man to stick with Ole Miss and help a rival try to win a national championship.
Especially Ole Miss. Like LSU
and Ole Miss hate
each other. Don't you all play for a trophy every year? Like a legit.
They do not like each other. They do not like each other one bit. And Lane is going to have to deal with a lot of bullshit in the media if he does leave. And have you guys taken a peek at the LSU schedule next year? Do you know where they go? They play 2 road games. Do you know where those 2 road games are?
I'm going to assume
Florida and Ole Miss.
Florida and at Ole Miss.
I believe it's Tennessee and Ole Miss.
Oh.
They 100% are going to Ole Miss. I know that. I'm just saying, I don't know what he's going to do. No one knows what Lane's going to do. Lane doesn't even know what Lane's probably going to do at this point. He's probably doing some hot yoga class right now, and who knows what he's doing.
It would not surprise me if he woke up to Sunday, like this Sunday, and he just goes, you know what, I want to stay at Ole Miss. And he just changes his mind completely. Like,
I wonder if
I was LSU, I wouldn't let this be playing second fiddle. I would have been like, no, you're coming to be our coach today, or we're going to move on to our next guy.
From what I have heard, I'm not going to claim I have all these inside sources or anything. But from what I have heard, just from people that I went to school with and stuff like that, 86% he's coming to LSU. Just based off of they don't want to guarantee anything, but he's probably going to LSU. My guess is he probably had an agreement with the AD, was like, hey, I want to coach this last game in the regular season, then they can fend for themselves. But here's my question. You win the Egg Bowl. You're living that high of we just took down our rivals. We're going to the playoff. And now you're ripping that away to go down the street, to go to another school?
Right now it's A&M and Georgia, right? Mm-hmm. And is that locked in no matter what happens? Or does Ole Miss get the tiebreaker?
Ole Miss can get in, I think, but they need like 3 losses from other teams or something.
Yeah, like it's Bama and A&M, and then if that it's Georgia, and then if all 3 of those lose, Ole Miss has a shot.
Yeah, but also let's not forget, Ole Miss needs to win this game too. It's not like they're a guarantee to win this game. This is the Egg Bowl. Weird things happen all the time.
But Mississippi State hasn't looked the same lately.
It's the Egg Bowl.
I don't.
It's the Egg Bowl in Starkville.
I was just going to say, it is not in Oxford. This game is not in Oxford. And those Mississippi State fans are going to be giving Lane Kiffin hell all game long. Mm-hmm. And it is going to be marvelous to see. And I think Ole Miss is going to win the game, but I don't know if it's going to be easy. This game to me is going to show me and every LSU fan, college football fan, what is Lane Kiffin made of? Because if he can go through all these mind games, all this narratives going through, and he still wins the game, okay, maybe you have what it takes to win at that level of like an LSU, a Bama-style team. But if he goes in there and drops the ball, keep him at Ole Miss. I don't want him in Baton Rouge, to be fully honest with you.
This is the definition of a trap game. This is a 100% trap game on the road, a lesser opponent. Your mind's not on the game. You're looking forward. There's a high likelihood that if you don't look good, the committee can come back and say, well, you lost Lane Kiffin. You didn't look good against your rival on the final week of the season. We've got 3 other teams who have a little lesser resume, but we're more confident in their coaching staff. The precedent's already been set when they left Florida State out of the 14 playoff because of Jordan Travis. You can say you lose a top player or a head coach, and we can leave you out. Yes, it's been expanded, but Ole Miss really, for all intents and purposes, this is a playoff game for them and in a different way because they've got to look good in Starkville. If they don't, if they look bad, if it's a 30-27 win in Starkville, there's a problem with Ole Miss's chances.
Just before I get into this next one, because it's going to lead into the bracket a little bit. Is there anything else in the college coaching circles you guys wanted to touch on real quick?
I'm going to say there's one team I wanted to talk to, and I know there's Bill wanted to go over one. But the one guy I just wanted to bring up, Bill specifically, because me and you have talked a lot about this Penn State job. And the likelihood now Vegas has Bob Chesney being the guy. However, players and alum are pounding the desk for Terry Smith. Do you think Terry's done enough to earn the right to get a shot? He is a Penn State guy, literally played for Penn State.
The problem is it's Penn State, right? This is a top job in the circle. It's not an Ohio State, it's not an LSU, it's not a Florida, but it's probably that next tier down. Is Terry flashy enough? He's the safe hire. He's the hire they should make. But just because it's the one they should make doesn't mean it's going to be the one they do make. I think Chesney is a flashier name if you're chasing that like Cignetti style of guy. He could be your Kurt Cignetti of Penn State. I think Terry Smith is probably the safer hire, but I just don't know how high the ceiling is with Terry Smith.
That's kind of how I feel as well. So I just thought I'd ask you because it's just something I saw because after the game, players were walking around hire him. And it's just like, you don't want these guys running off to Virginia Tech. Do you gotta kind of keep them happy? If not, do you have Terry somehow on the staff and keep him locked in, which may cost you a little of extra money, which do you want to pay someone in his position that kind of money? It's an interesting thing to follow pending what Penn State really wants to do.
Yeah, no, these coaching circles are going to become much clearer in the next couple of weeks because the transfer portal is going to open soon and all that. Bill, anything you want to touch on before I go into the bracket? Because I have a couple questions.
Yeah, so the biggest thing that obviously I want to touch on is obviously Eric Morris, North Texas head coach, signed a deal with Oklahoma State today. And I have to say that this is a slam dunk A+ hire for Oklahoma State because you are getting a guy who has shown he can work with quarterbacks and develop quarterbacks. He did great things with Patrick Mahomes. He's done great things with Cam Ward. And then obviously Drew Mestemaker and everything he's done. And now there's a high likelihood that you're also going to be able to bring Drew Mestemaker to Oklahoma State. We just saw this recipe last season when Ben Arbuckle went from Washington State to Oklahoma and brought John Mateer with him. And I think Oklahoma State's trying to copy that recipe for success, and I think it's going to do well for them. I think there is a high likelihood that if they hit the transfer portal, they get some additional talent at wide receiver, add a few pieces along the offensive line, Oklahoma State has a puncher's chance at the Big 12 next year.
I absolutely think it's a slam dunk. Love the hire. He knows the area very well going from Texas to Oklahoma. Whether they hate each other or not isn't much of a difference when it comes to a recruiting type bed. They'll be able to go into Texas, still get their guys. They're an offensive – he is an offensive-minded coach, which Oklahoma State is born and bred on. They love their scoring. It's Big 12 football. We want 60-60. We don't want defense played there. No matter how much BYU, Utah, and UC wants to try to change that. That's not Big 12 football. But no, as you mentioned, Bill, I absolutely love the hire. I'm interested to see what happens. Makes me worry about UC's chances because that's another great team possibly getting built. I don't think it's a quick turnaround, though. But it will be interesting to see maybe how many people he can pull from North Texas that he thinks is Power 5 level talent. But starting with your quarterback 100% will be a done deal. I won't be surprised if the transfer papers are already put in.
Yeah, no, credit to the Cowboys. I think they're going to be in good shape in a couple years. It's going to be fun to watch. But we got to get into the bracket a little bit and everything, right? Like the new rankings just came out we don't get the opportunity to do the show too often on Tuesdays, but with the holiday, we obviously get to talk about this a little bit. As you mentioned, Bill, Ole Miss was dropped, right? They fell behind Oregon because of the USC beatdown that Oregon had. I don't want to hear anything about, USC was in there. No, if you watch that game, Oregon dominated that entire game. USC couldn't run the ball. They couldn't do anything. My question is this. Are we sure Ole Miss is actually as good as they are? Take the Lane Kiffin stuff out. Just let's say he's like, I'm going back to Ole Miss, or that none of this has even happened. I know that their signature win, right, is on the road against Oklahoma. But John Mateer was also banged up still. He wasn't the John Mateer that we're even seeing now, because that was weeks ago. What other win do they have? They beat a very bad LSU team, and they still should have probably lost that game, as we've talked about on this show. They struggled with Florida. They struggled with Kentucky in the beginning of the year. They struggled with South Carolina. These are all teams at the bottom of the SEC. I don't necessarily know if Ole Miss even deserves to be as high as they are right now. What do you guys think?
I mean, they're just Oregon of the SEC right now. That's who they are. Their non-conference schedule wasn't that great, as you mentioned. They really haven't had that great win, and their toughest opponent they lost to. They're Oregon. They are Oregon. The difference is, though, I trust Oregon to be able – I still think Oregon's a national championship contender, and if anybody's sleeping on this team,
I agree.
I recommend you go watch what they did on Saturday. That team is national championship good. If Dante Moore can be Dante Moore, and I don't want to say game manage because they need a little bit more from him.
He some of the throws he made the other day. I know he had an interception, but some of the throws he threaded that thing into the spaces. Like I was in shock sometimes. Like, damn, I didn't realize how good he was. Like, obviously he's gotten better over the season, but he made some big time throws in that game. It wasn't just the running game that won them that game.
But
Dante Moore is a massive reason why the Oregon Ducks are as high as they are. And I think, I mean, you said it, he's going to be why they win championship or not. They have a great running attack. They have a good defense, but they need Dante Moore to be good. He can't just be a game manager, as you mentioned.
No.
Because when you look at the top 4 teams right now, they're obviously sitting at 6. You can even go top 5. Every single one of them is going to live and die on their quarterback, outside maybe one. And I don't know if we'll have a chance to talk about it, so I will emphasize very quickly. Julian Sayin needs to prove something to me this weekend when he plays Michigan, but I will get to that when we get to that. Wrapping all that up, I have questions about every single SEC team right now, though. I really wonder if the SEC is as good as what everybody thinks it is right now, because part of me really does believe the 3 best teams in college football, or 3 of the 4, are in the Big Ten.
What, Ohio State, Indiana, and Oregon?
Yeah, and then I would put Texas Tech up there. That is the only team that I would put up in consideration. A&M has a lot of questions, specifically their strength of schedule. You want to call out Ole Miss, you got to look at Texas A&M.
I agree. But I put Georgia ahead of –
They were a botch point away from losing to that Notre Dame team. I can't ever put Notre Dame up there until I see Notre Dame win a national championship. It's just not going to happen. But, again, Georgia – I still don't know how I feel about Gunnar Stockton. He's been able to do it, but their defense is not typical Georgia defense. They're very prone to giving up the big play. We watched it versus Tennessee. You're telling me a team like Texas Tech, if they have, 2 weeks to prepare, I think it is, can't scheme something up versus Kirby Smart?
I'm going to trust Kirby over pretty much any coach in the country, if you want to ask.
And then Oklahoma, if Mateer's not healthy, they got no chance. They're going to get waxed by Notre Dame with that current matchup.
Is there a possibility that Oregon
– and don't get me started on Bama. So,
is there a possibility Oregon can get a home playoff game? Not home play. Sorry, not a home play. They're going to probably get that. Talking about a bye. Is there a possibility Oregon can get a bye?
No, now with you, I won't. I don't see 2 SEC teams. So, I guess for that to happen, A&M would have to lose to Texas.
Yep.
Georgia would have to lose to Georgia Tech or Alabama. But I think even if that happens, I think they would just give Alabama. Whoever wins the SEC championship is going to get the other bye, and then
SEC winner, Big Ten winner,
Indiana, Ohio State, Indiana, SEC winner, and Texas Tech would be your 4.
Are we sure Ohio State and Indiana are both going to get buys?
Yes, if they're both undefeated.
Yes, that's the key. If they're both undefeated, but I say this, and I'll talk about it when we get to our predictions for the game this weekend. If I'm Ohio State, Indiana, or Texas A&M, I am doing everything I can to find a way to somehow lose a game and fall out of that top 1, 2, or 3 spot. Because like we talked about, you look at the bracket, let's say you're the 1 seed, right? Let's say you're the 1 seed Ohio State. You're going to end up getting either Notre Dame, who's been dangerous, or Oklahoma with John Mateer when fully healthy is a gamble. Then you're going to get either Georgia or Texas Tech before you even get to the semis, or before you even get to the national championship. And then you're looking at Texas A&M, Indiana. You are on murderer's row if you're the 1 seed. And for all it's worth, don't give me the 1 seed. Give me the 2, give me the 3, give me the 4, but I don't want any part of that 1 seed this year.
Yep. We've been saying it for a while now. And we talked about this, and, obviously it's next week, but conference championship games, how much do you think they should factor into the seeding? Or do you think it should just be solely based off of what you do in these 12 games? And then obviously the winner of the conference championship game, fine, you're going to, get boosted a little bit by that. But unless you get blown out in the championship game, right? Do you think it should be penalized? Teams should be penalized for getting there, or what? Because I feel like that's going to be a discussion we have next week.
I think if you're in the top 12, you should not be knocked out for playing an extra game. However, it's hard also to reward someone for playing in that game. It's a tricky situation. I'm glad I'm not in control of it because we've been talking about it. It's the real concern this year is the teams that are not playing in those games, however, that are going to hold the 10-2 record.
Right. Yep. Yeah, it's a mess right now. This whole thing is a mess.
Yep. No, and we have to even really recognize it's not a top 12, it's a top 10, because you're looking at the ACC taking the 11th and then the American taking the 12th. So it's a top 10, but I don't think there should be any sort of penalty unless you absolutely get waxed. I mean, if it's 50-10 Texas A&M with a win, then yes, their opponent Georgia should be penalized in that scenario. But if it's 35-32, it's just another game. Let's keep it moving.
Yeah, I'd agree. And we'll have everything, become more clear this week, and then we can talk about the conference championship games, which will be fun. But before we get into the actual games here, I got to talk about the Heisman for a minute, because we've been talking about this all year long. It's been Mendoza, right? It's been Julian Sayin. It's been Ty Simpson for a while. I think he's fallen off a little bit. I know, Bill, you have been pounding the table for your guy over at Texas Tech. What about Jeremiah Love? Because all this man does every single week is just put up these monster numbers. Mm-hmm. And quite honestly, he's at the top of my list at this point. I don't care. Give him the Heisman. What he has been doing this year is absolutely insane. Give him the Heisman. I don't care. I don't care. And he's been consistent, unlike every other person that we have talked about. Yep. Let Jeremiah Love win. Let the running back win. Let's keep the 5. If anyone watched the USC Oregon broadcast, they were talking about it. Every year that ends in 5, a running back has won the Heisman since 1935. Let's keep it going. Give it to Jeremiah Love. I'm in. He deserves it.
He's number 2 on my list behind Mendoza because they're undefeated. They're undefeated at Indiana because of this kid.
Yeah.
They are so good, and he has been the leader of that team. He has made plays, whether it was versus Oregon or to come back to throw versus was it Penn State or Wisconsin? Which one was the back of the end zone?
Penn State.
Back of the end zone was Penn State, yep.
Yeah, he's made the throw. But Jeremiah Love is officially my number 2. I said I was going to talk about it during the game, but I'll talk about it now. Julian Sayin last week, and the Buckeyes played scared with him, and they played safe. And I get they were without their 2 star wide receivers. But Ryan Day basically said that guy isn't going to be given the chance to make a throw or make a play. And he didn't need to. They were able to run and smack that team in the mouth, and rightfully so. It was Rutgers. But they struggled in the first half. And Bill, who watches tapes more than anybody I know, who was literally just pinpointing stuff and talking to me about it. Man, I just – a game manager does not win the Heisman. And that's why I'm not giving it to Julian Sayin. If anything, Jeremiah Smith gets my vote now more than Julian Sayin does. So I'll put Jeremiah Smith number 3.
Do we I don't want to say penalize him, but because of the weapons that Ohio State has, does that take Julian Sayin's stock down a little bit? Because, and look, you can make the case. I know Ohio State fans don't want to hear this. They can make the case. Oh, look at Joe Burrow from 2019 when he had Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson. Okay, but Joe Burrow also put up 60 touchdowns and broke so many records with those two.
Look at Jaden Daniel. Look at Jane Daniels at LSU. He put up 5,000 yards.
Exactly.
No, it's not an apples to apples case. I said all along that I don't think Julian Sayin wins the Heisman, not because he's not deserving of it, but because when you have an offense that also has Jeremiah Smith and Carnell Tate, there is no way that a voter can sit there and say, yeah, Julian Sayin is playing above and beyond. No, because you have elite weapons on the outside. It's not a penalization. It's just saying this team is that stacked. And in order to win the Heisman, you have to be the best player. But I'm with both of you guys. I think my Heisman podium right now is Fernando Mendoza is still number 1, but 1B, and I'm going to keep saying it until he gets an invite to New York. And I don't want to hear it that it can't be a linebacker because Manti Te'o finished in 2nd. And you know what? This guy has better stats than Manti Te'o. Jacob Rodriguez, 97 tackles, 1 sack, 6 pass deflections, 4 interceptions, 7 forced fumbles, 2 fumble recoveries, a rushing touchdown. What else does he got to do? Do you want him to go run the concession? Do you want him to run the concession stand? Because he'll do it.
He might do it at this point.
So basically,
maybe he can take over for Lane Kiffin.
The one few years that we can say it honestly. You should have one quarterback there. It's Mendoza. He's the only one we haven't questioned all year.
Yeah.
When it comes to the podium, he's earned his right since the Oregon game. He hasn't fallen off. Jeremiah Love, whether we all want to sleep on him or not, I get he's a running back. He should be there. Rodriguez should be there, and Jeremiah Smith should be there. And then it should go to Mendoza because, again, Indiana's undefeated. Never in my lifetime did I think I'd be saying that.
Well, you also called them you called them multiple things throughout the year, so we don't need to rehash all of that. You also you've had some takes this year.
Yeah, let's talk some actual games this week. All right.
Yeah, we need to talk about the actual games. Let's get into this. We have 6 games we chose from this slate. First up, Western Kentucky taking on Jacksonville State. Western Kentucky just getting a shout out again here, guys. We talked about them last week. I don't know what happened in Baton Rouge the other night, but Western Kentucky played really well. They almost beat LSU in Baton Rouge. They didn't. Sorry, Will. Go Tigers. But Josh, where are you going with this game? What do you think?
You know what? For the brand, I cannot pick Big Red and what, or not Big Red. Is it Big Red? The red blob? I don't know what that thing is. Is it Big Red? Yeah, that horrible, ugly, weird blob of a mascot.
We mean horrible.
It reminds me of Xavier's blue blob, and that's why it bothers me so much. The red blob was probably before the blue blob, but I don't know much about Jacksonville State. I'll be the first to admit this. And I watched what was it? College Game Day, and Nick Saban was like, I don't have the right to make a proper prediction, so I'm not going to. I'm just going to take Western Kentucky simply because of their mascot.
I thought you just called them horrible.
It is, but it's a blob. It's just I'm taking it for the brand. All right,
okay,
I'm making Will happy one last time.
Okay. Bill, are you taking Western Kentucky too?
I am, but I'm actually going to make a little bit of a more prediction than just take the big red blob. Because when you look at
Thank you, Bill.
When you look at Western Kentucky, they have a top 20 passing offense in the entire country. And you look at Jacksonville State's defense, 112th in the nation in stopping the pass. Maverick McAvoy, who started the season with an absolute dime of a game and just blew the opponent out of the water, he's going to have a field day with this Jacksonville State offense. And he's going to throw it all over the yard like it's nobody's business. Give me Western Kentucky handily over Jacksonville State because of that.
I will agree with you on that, Bill. The way I see it is if you look, I don't care that LSU has been a garbage team on offense all year long. They manhandled LSU for a minute in that game. If you can go on the road against an SEC team as a non-SEC school and play that well, I don't care if it's the worst team in the SEC. It doesn't matter. Give me Western Kentucky and the big red blob. They're going to win this game. And I that's all I got to say. So, Will, you're welcome. We talked about them finally. Next up, we got Miami, who's fighting for a playoff spot, taking on Pitt, who I guess is kind of fighting for something. Maybe Pat Narduzzi was right. He didn't care about anything but the ACC because Pitt just absolutely just destroyed Georgia Tech. They have 28-0 at one point. Sorry, Josh. I know you're Yellow Jackets, but I don't know. Maybe if this had been their mindset the week prior, maybe Pitt is in the playoff race. But no, he only cares about the ACC, so that's all that matters to him, apparently. Bill, are you taking the Hurricanes to keep their playoff hopes alive, or are you taking Pitt to continue this ACC dominance?
So before I make my selection, I hate doing this. I'm kidding. I don't hate doing this. I love taking victory laps. There was one panelist last week that had the foresight to take the Panthers.
I recall that.
I seemed to, that was me.
Was it?
So with that being said, you'd probably think, yeah, he's going to go 2 for 2 with Pitt. Absolutely, unequivocally not. Mason Heinschel is playing with house money, and he is putting that ball in dangerous positions. And now you're going against a Miami, Florida team that is number 14th in the nation in turnover margin at +9. Not only is it Hurricanes, not only is it the U, it is Miami by halftime. This is going to be a blowout for the Hurricanes.
Miami's looked good. They've looked good the last few weeks. Obviously playing some lesser opponents, but they've looked pretty good. Josh, are you taking Miami? You have been on the Pitt train for a minute here. I know you're probably going to pick Miami because of the Narduzzi comments, but are you taking the Panthers to upset and just break Miami's heart when it comes to the playoffs?
I need Miami to lose.
So need or what are you picking here?
So I'm just going to put it in the universe because things I want never happen, but things I bet happen less. So I'm going to take Miami to win, and I'm going to put my hard-earned cash on it. And I'm going to just hope it happens. I'm going complete bias this week, boys. I don't even care what happens the rest of the way. Clearly, when I actually have actual thought on it happening, I blow 11-game lead. So I might as well just throw a dart at the wall and see what happens. And hopefully, maybe Pittsburgh can help me out and knock Miami out.
I really thought you were going to take Pitt, but I'm also taking the U. I see no way Pitt wins this game. Miami knows what's at stake. We will find out what we need to know about Miami.
Pitt is literally playing for an ACC spot because SMU is going to Cal and they lose at Cal, which we've seen happen before. And we've seen a team rebound and bounce back after their coach gets fired.
Nobody wants to win
that job just opened.
Nobody wants to win the ACC. We've determined this. Nobody wants to win the ACC.
But they were very, very smart about it. They've now put all 3 teams that have a chance to win the conference with only 1 loss ahead of Tulane. So we don't have that bull crap of a G5 jumping one of the ACC winners. If you didn't see that tonight, SMU is even ahead of Tulane. So that's no longer a concern for the ACC. They are definitely getting a team in.
Yeah, they'll get a team in.
At Pitt, I think Pitt's got a legit chance. But I do think Miami's defense will step up too big.
We are going to find out everything we need to know about Miami in this game because they are playing for everything. They are playing for a potential to make the playoff. They are playing to make a case to the committee. This game will tell us all we need to know about Miami and whether they even have a chance to make the playoff. Whether they could win by 3, and I think they might. That's going to be penalized. They need to dominate Pitt, in my opinion, to have a chance.
By the way, key number here. We didn't have a chance to talk about it. Notre Dame is 9th. Miami is now up to 12. The committee said they would think about rotating the 2 of them in the last week of the season if they were within 3 spots. 9 and 12, 3 spots, gentlemen. Again, Miami has to win big.
Yep, they do. They really have to. They do. Carson Beck is on your shoulders, and we've seen him struggle at times. Speaking of the team that Pitt just destroyed last week, Georgia and Georgia Tech. We got a rivalry game here. This is always fun. Georgia Tech still has something to play for. They have a tough loss. They've had a really good season. Georgia, the same. Josh, You have been on Georgia Tech all year long. Are you going to take the Yellow Jackets to beat the Bulldogs? Are you taking Georgia to just what most people probably think is going to happen?
Do you know how depressing that was to watch on Saturday?
I
They
enjoyed it
got
pretty thoroughly.
smacked in the mouth. That has not happened since Brent Keys has been at Georgia Tech. Just a team to smack Georgia Tech and beat Georgia Tech at Georgia Tech's game. Haynes King, don't know what was happening. Those interceptions. Anyway, yeah, no, I'm taking the Dogs. I want to take Tech so bad. I want to believe in Tech. I want to say maybe it was a look-ahead spot, but it couldn't even been a look-ahead spot because there was legit talk of the conversation that I had with you guys. They were going to sit Haynes King this week if they won because you can't take a chance. But now they got nothing to play for, so they'll probably go out and they'll win in overtime 8 and ruin Georgia's season. But I'm going to take the Dogs because that's more likely to happen. The Dogs need the win to have a chance to stay up into the top 4 or get that bye that maybe they want, because the 2 seed would probably be better than the 4, but we'll see.
Yeah, I'm going with Georgia also. They have something to play for fully. And quite frankly, at the beginning of the year, I picked Georgia to make the championship game. They had them losing, but I'm still going through with that. I think Georgia has the tools to do it. So go Dogs, at least for the 1 week. Bill, are we sweeping 3 for 3, or are you taking Georgia Tech here?
We're sweeping 3 for 3 for the Dogs just because of the simple fact Brent Key is supposed to be a defensive-minded head coach, right? Then why are you ranked 108th overall in defensive yards, 105th in passing, 96th in rushing, 77th in scoring, and 114th in turnover margin? What are you? What is going? No, it's going to be Dogs, and it's going to be Dogs big.
I mean, I can't. It's kind of hard to argue with that, to be honest. Look, Georgia Tech can win this game, but they looked so flat last week. It was just weird. It was like they were defeated. It's like Pitt just took their soul. I don't know. It was weird. Mm-hmm. But enough of these Georgia teams. We don't care about Georgia. No one cares about Georgia. Georgia doesn't even care about Georgia. This is the real matchup, guys. This is the game I'm most looking forward to here. We got Vandy taking on Tennessee. The Vandy team that I need to see in the playoff. I need them to win this game. I need Vandy to win this game. I need it to. I need my narrative from the year to go through. Bill, I know they were your fraud a few weeks ago. Are you sticking with that? And I mean, realistically, both of these teams still have something to play for. I mean, more so Vandy than obviously Tennessee. Vandy can get into the playoff if they win this game, and it would be, I think, their first 10-win season ever, or the first in a very long time, something like that.
First in quite some time. Yeah,
It's been a hell of a year for Vandy, but they can cap it off with a big road win. Bill, I'm going to start with you. Are you taking Vandy or are you taking Rocky Top?
It's going to be Rocky Top, and the reason it's going to be Rocky Top is
Bill just killing dreams over here.
I am. You know what's really killing dreams? Vanderbilt's defense. That's 113th in the nation in stopping the pass, going up against a top 5 passing offense in Tennessee. They couldn't stop a nosebleed. They made Garrett Nussmeier look like a number 1 overall pick, and that's hard to do. Give me Rocky Top all day long.
Bill, we're breaking dreams, but Josh, are you breaking dreams too? Are you taking Vandy to upset? Well, it wouldn't even really be an upset because they're ranked higher, but I guess kind of an upset. I don't know.
This game is at Rocky Top. This game is Knoxville, Tennessee. They've already lost that game at home. Actually, they've lost 2 games at home, if you don't correct me if I'm wrong, because Georgia's game was also at Tennessee. Yeah. They're not dropping this one. They are beating Diago Pavia. They are beating Vandy. It's been a fun story, but get them out. See you later.
Get them out. Man, you guys are disrespectful. Just both of you, disrespectful.
Hey, I don't know if you noticed or not, but that team is number 14, and there's another team at 15, and it's another team in front of my team. I need out of there.
Oh, my God. You don't want to make the playoff. We'll talk about your team in a minute. You don't want to make the playoff. I'm going to go with Tennessee, too. I think if this were in Vandy.
Coward.
No, I can't.
Coward.
It's the defense, man. I can't. Tennessee's offense is way too good. Way too good. And if it's a shootout, I'm sorry. Tennessee's winning the game. Mm-hmm. Vandy doesn't have the defense like Georgia to shut them down on a play or something. It's just not going to happen. So, We have gone 4 games so far, guys. No disagreements. This is the first thing that's ever happened.
I was actually a little bit worried we weren't going to have a disagreement today. I really was.
I legit thought you were going to pick Pitt, Josh. So, but we're going to move on to the great state of Texas. We got A&M taking on the Longhorns. Longhorns can spoil A&M's season right here. I mean, Texas A&M might be able to get back into the playoff and they lose, but it might be tough because, as we've talked about, they haven't really played anybody. Sorry, Aggie fans. Josh, I'm going to you first because the next game I already know your pick, so I'm going to go to you first here. Are you taking A&M or are you taking Texas to just crush all the Aggie fans' dreams? What's going to happen here?
It's only right that a year that A&M finally gets over the 8-4 hump that they beat Texas, right?
You would think.
Not so fast.
Okay,
Great Lee Corso said, not so fast, my friend. Give me the Longhorns and Arch Manning to finally get a top 5 win to protect good old Texas and carry the momentum into 2026. Because if they don't win this game, Sark will not be the head coach of the Longhorns in 2026 by his choosing or by Texas's.
Man, fiery takes here. Bill, are we going to finally have our first disagreement? Or are you leaning with Josh on Texas?
I am leaning with Josh on Texas, and I'm taking the Horns in overtime. And the biggest reason why Texas A&M is -5 turnover margin is 109th in the nation versus Texas is top 10 at +10. Texas forces turnovers. What did we just watch Marcel Reed do against South Carolina? Turn the ball over. And now you're telling me he's going to go to DKR and deal with that defense and not turn the ball over? It's going to create short fields for Arch Manning in this offense, and it's going to get ugly early. We're going to see Marcel Reed have to put on the Superman cape once again, but this time it's not against the South Carolina defense. It's against a Texas defense that's going to cause some late game issues. Give me the Longhorns in overtime.
Man, Bill, both of you disappoint me. You guys I'm sorry. I thought this was going to be the game we won. I thought one of you would pick A&M. I thought I was doing something by picking Texas. Man, the Longhorns, like you mentioned, their defense is going to win them this game. Arch Manning needs to go out on top. He needs to feel momentum, as Josh talked about. Texas has been trending upward. I know they lost to Georgia, but a lot of teams lose to Georgia. I think Arch has probably the game of his career so far against Texas A&M, and maybe knocks A&M out of the playoff race a little bit. So Longhorns. Okay, we have one game left. We have all agreed every single time. This is the one I don't know if we're all going to agree on every single time. So maybe we'll finally get a disagreement. We have the big one, the game. Arguably the best rivalry in college football. I'd probably put it up as
all sports.
Not all of sports. Don't do that.
Don't
do that.
All of sports.
No.
We
are literally not going to do that.
It's Ohio versus Team Up North. We don't even say each other's names correctly.
No,
it is.
We are not. We
have wars.
It's Chipotle versus Qdoba. That's what this is.
We are not. It is not. They are a top 5 rivalry in sports. They are not the top one. We can debate that another day, Josh, but that is not no.
Feel free. Anytime.
Josh, I already know your pick. You're picking Michigan. We already know. Am I correct, or are you picking Ohio State?
Well, here's my concern, boys. Safety Rod Moore is out. Rod Moore is a big part of the defense. It looks like he is definitely not going to play. Me and Bill have had a conversation. Defense looks 100 times better when he's on the field. He is a team leader. He's an Ohio native. He also is coming up with big picks. Bigger loss may be Max Bredson. He said he's going to try to find a way on the field. I don't know how he's going to do it when he was walking around with 2 canes on the sideline on Saturday. But if there's anybody can do it, it's definitely Max. That's one crazy SOB, and he'll either be a Raven or a Charger next year. Lock that one in. And then they also have lost Ernest Hausman. Justice Haynes is still iffy. We haven't heard much about it. Jordan Marshall said he's 100%, and there's no way you're going to hold him out of that game. He doesn't care if he's got to tape the shoulder up. So, yes, I'm taking Michigan to make it another streak and finding a way to win. And Jordan Marshall, Mr. Ohio, Moeller Pride, beats Ohio and keeps the college football playoff hope alive in Ann Arbor. And I'm telling you now, if Michigan wins this game and does not make the playoffs, you will never see Michigan play a Power 4 team in non-conference again. Ever again. Because they are in the playoffs if they don't play Oklahoma.
Yeah, but then we've had that conversation.
It's no.
So we all
Oregon.
know you're going with Michigan, Josh. We all know you're the Michigan homer.
Okay, they'd be Alabama, or they'd be Ole Miss, or they would be Texas A&M. They would still be right there.
I'll tell you this, Josh. You do not want Michigan in the playoff. You will be exposed very, very quickly.
Matter of fact, I want them in there, and I want them in the 8-9 matchup so we can beat Ohio State twice.
Wow. I don't think that would happen. But, Bill, before I make my pick, because at this point, my pick will determine everything for our pick'em standings.
Don't be a
Bill, are you taking Ohio State to keep the undefeated season alive and Ryan Day to finally get off this monkey off his back of beating Michigan? Get the fans to calm down, even though they just won the championship last year. It's like I don't get it. But Ohio State, are you taking Michigan? Please, I don't know. I don't even know. I don't know, Bill. Don't disappoint me here.
I'm taking Ohio State with an asterisk. With an asterisk. And what I say with that asterisk is if I were Ryan Day and my goal was a national championship, but I could also subsequently spite Michigan, I would bench Sayin, Tate, Claire, the entire starting defense after the first half and say, you know what, Michigan, here's a game for you. We're going to go to the playoffs now. Have a nice day. Because there's nothing that would do more. Josh, I get where you're coming from. Michigan wins. It's a different look at the committee. But we both know what would happen. That committee would say, well, Sayin wasn't in the second half. And Tate wasn't in the second half.
Why'd you have to put that in?
That's diabolical. That would be so diabolical.
I said with an asterisk. I said I was going to go diabolical.
I'm here for it.
I say Ohio State wins, and I say they can win in multiple ways. I think the best way is that they don't win this game. They sit their starters in the second half. And yeah, Michigan gets a win. They get a 30-17 win, but it's a hollow victory because Ohio State's then going on to probably be the 5 or the 6 seed. And then Michigan's going home with just the win in Ohio State.
If Ohio's well, here's a question, Matt, since you brought it up.
Yep.
If Ohio State were to lose to Michigan and then lose to Indiana in the Big Ten championship game, Ohio State is 10-2 and has a loss to Michigan.
Bye Buckeyes. They're not
Michigan
making the playoff
is 10-2.
I don't think Ohio State makes the playoff at that point.
But that in that scenario, Michigan has to get in over them, right?
Yeah,
then
Michigan
you have to penalize somebody for that extra loss, wouldn't you? Because you lost to a team, right?
You would think, but you would think. So
you would think, but I think we know how the committee would have that conversation and say that second half is a different loss than the Big Ten championship. If the Big Ten championship's a blowout, if Michigan wins 35-7 because Ohio State doesn't get it together, yes, send the Buckeyes packing. But if it's 35-32 Michigan in the Big Ten championship, they're going to throw out that second half that Ohio State benched their guys. And what's going to happen? Michigan's going to be left out in the cold. Or, and I throw this out, Notre Dame is bounced and Michigan gets in.
Yeah. You want my honest opinion? At this point,
Bama should be bounced. That's my honest opinion.
No, Michigan should be bounced. But I think at this point, I don't think Ryan Day cares about Michigan. I don't think he gives a crap about beating Michigan.
That is a lie.
He's going to say it to save face with the fans. He's going to say it to save face with the program, the boosters, everything. But deep down in his mind, in his heart, he's like, if we beat Michigan, cool. It's an extra game. It's an extra bragging right. I don't think he gives a flying shit about beating Michigan. He wants the ring. He wants to be back-to-back champions. He wants to win a championship at Ohio State every year. You don't get a ring for beating Michigan. You get a ring for winning a championship.
Yep.
I don't think he gives a crap. I'm not going to sit here and say that I think he's going to bench the players. I think Michigan wins the game, regardless. I think Michigan has everything. What? I really think Michigan's going to win.
You're such a liar.
I'm really not. Liar. I have been down on Ohio State all year long.
You have.
Mm-hmm.
I told you at the beginning of the season, Michigan is going to win this game. I literally said those words to you. Ohio State is going to lose this weekend, and it's going to be you're going to feel incredible this weekend.
I'm not. Here's the thing. I'll feel incredible. I'll feel incredible on Saturday, and then I'll wake up Sunday, and I'll see the bracket drop, and then everything inside me is going to break.
No,
if they get left out of the playoffs at 10-2, I don't ever want them to play a Power 4 team again in non-conference because Indiana has gotten there by not playing anybody in non-conference.
Yeah, but look what happened in Indiana last year. I'm just saying, Josh, you're going to feel really good about that win. You're going to feel really good. You're going to be talking all your trash to Buckeye fans. But when Ohio State wins another championship, you're not going to feel good, Josh. That's what's going to happen. And at the end of the day,
it'll be the same feeling as last year. I'll put Notre Dame and I'll put Ohio State meeting in the national championship, and I'll bet my money on Ohio State to win again, and I'll be brokenhearted all over again. I know how this is. I watched it happen last year.
This game feels like a Michigan win. I don't know why. It just we talked about gut feelings all year long. This feels like a Michigan win.
It's because what Bill has said. The last 2 weeks we have watched Ohio get smacked in the mouth. Yeah, they're blowing teams out in the second half, but they've been getting beat physically on that side of the ball that you can't tell me that Michigan's pass rush with their defense, they're going to give – this is the best defense outside Texas that Ohio has played all year.
Yep. That right side of that line, the right side of the offensive line is a problem for Ohio State. And I don't care if Buckeye fans don't want to hear it. It is, look in my eyes, Buckeyes. It's a problem, and it's going to get you waxed at some point. Figure it out, because you've been abused in the first half by Eric O'Neal at Rutgers. UCLA had your number for a quarter. Penn State denied Dennis Sutton had your number for a quarter. And yet I'm expected to believe you're going to be able to handle David Bailey and Romello Height at Texas Tech, or Mason Thomas from Oklahoma. No, figure it out.
I'll tell you the team they really need to be afraid of, and it's the team we talked about. It's their quarterback play is iffy, but if Ohio gets in as the 1 seed in that 8-9 matchup, it's Miami. It's Miami in that defense. That Miami defensive line. And Liam himself admitted that Miami is a team that he's afraid of, because that defensive line, and it's not like Carson Beck can't have that really good game. We've seen Carson Beck look like a number 1 overall pick before, and he's got his wide receivers back. Was it CJ Daniels came back last week?
Yeah.
Miami had their bad game. Carson Beck had their bad game. If Miami gets in, I'm hoping Miami and Oregon are on opposite sides of the bracket. Because, boys, I'm going to put them meeting in the national championship if it happens.
I just think, we don't need to touch on Ohio State too much about this, but they haven't played anybody. I know they beat Texas at the beginning of the year, but that win doesn't look as good any longer. And also, that was Arch Manning's first real game as a starter on the road in Columbus with all the Lee Corso stuff.
That said also, though, it was Sands' first start. So you got to put an asterisk there.
Okay, they're at home. He's at home.
I agree. We talked about it back then. But I'm just saying.
And they won by 7.
This is
the entire second half. Texas outplayed them
all year. This is Ohio's biggest test all year outside Texas, and now it's at home. But they are going into Ann Arbor. It is supposed to be snowy. It is supposed to be cold. Your wide receivers are banged up. Like, you're telling me right now, if it's not in the cold weather, you know how hard it is to get stretched. You're going to put a wide receiver out there who has hamstring issues already? I hope they both can stay healthy. I hope they both can play. And I know there's going to be Ohio fans telling me that I'm lying about it, but I promise you I'm not lying about it. When I beat you guys, I want to beat you at full health. I've beaten you 5 years. I remember COVID before the feeling of losing to you guys, so I don't freaking remember.
This is going to be a fun one.
Yes.
And I'm excited for the weekend, and we're going to get the conference championship game matchup set.
I want to emphasize this though. Either Michigan is going to win close, or Ohio is going to win in a blowout.
Yeah, I can't see Ohio State winning a close game here. It's going to be one of the two. I agree, Josh. And it's going to be Michigan winning. Sorry, Bill. I know you have the asterisk.
Sorry, Bill's got to miss one a week. That's all I know. Bill's got to miss one a week.
This is the one Bill's going to miss.
Yes, I will add this too before we get out of here. I'm calling my shot. I'm calling some chaos. The SEC is imploding this weekend. Ole Miss, Oklahoma, Alabama. 2 of those 3 teams will lose this weekend.
I think we all know which one is not going to lose this weekend. Of course, it's going to be the Ole Miss Rebels, right? They have no drama. They're just a straight line to the title game, right? No drama.
No drama there.
Alabama has to play in literally their nightmare spot. Like
Alabama's in their nightmare spot.
There. At night too? Boy, oh boy.
I think Oklahoma probably has the best chance to win. Like just because they are at home. And LSU's offense looks like a high school offense at this point. So I can't. But
if they're looking ahead and it's a trap game and they get overconfident in themselves, we've seen Oklahoma do that this season.
My fear is what we have in front of us is what we're going to get. It wouldn't surprise me if all 1 through 10 go straight chalk, come out victorious, and then the only debate is, does Notre Dame get in over Miami or does Miami get in over Notre Dame? But I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong. I like a little bit of chaos because it's the only way we're going to get 16. Because if we had 16 right now, I wouldn't be stressing this too much. But now I'm going to be stressing everything, especially if they win a close one on Saturday. Because I still don't know how you keep out it unless they do what Bill said, which I don't think Ohio will because I think that's how Ryan Day gets fired.
If you in that first half, let's say that first half, heaven forbid, knock on wood, there's a tough hit on Julian Sayin, and he gets up a little slow.
Yeah.
You can't tell me Ryan Day as a head coach in the back of his mind saying, if I want to win a national championship, Sayin's got to come out now. This game,
fans aren't going to like it, but it may. But then again, fans called for Ryan Day's head right after they lost to Michigan last year.
No, they didn't. I don't know what you're talking about, Matt. They
won a championship a month later, and everyone was happy, and it was happy days in Columbus. You remember that?
The man has lost 8 games in his entire career at Ohio, and they wanted to fire the dude. Like, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing?
Yeah, that's for a debate for another time, Josh.
It is.
But it's going to be a fun weekend. We want to thank everybody for tuning in here. We're going to get the conference game set, and it's going to be fun. Hopefully, Lane Kiffin makes his decision. If we get on the show and Lane Kiffin is not decided, I don't know what I'm going to do. I will go on a rant about Lane Kiffin at that point. But we want to thank everybody for tuning in every week. We appreciate the support. Make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel, like the video. We hope everyone has an awesome Thanksgiving. Enjoy it with your family, friends, everything. But that will do it for us here at the TWSN Tailgate Show. We will see you next time. Thank you, and good night.